welcome to Moms on a Mission. This episode is brought to you by our good friend, Dr. Jason Dean and Full Moon Protocol, which provides all natural detoxification from parasitic conditions due to the food we eat and also fights inflammation. Go to bravetv.store/mission to save $20 off your first order. That's bravetv.store/mission. Today, we get to talk with an incredible mom who is a biomedical engineering graduate from Duke University. And as a successful Hollywood film actress, writer, and producer, she stepped away from her own career to immerse herself into her three children's education for over a decade. Once she discovered the broken institution of government school, she set out on a quest not just to fully educate her own children, but to teach us how to do the same. She's a public speaker, mentor, and is dedicated to teaching families how to educate differently, outlined in her amazing book, They're Your Kids, an inspirational journey from self-doubter to homeschool advocate. Welcome to Moms on a Mission, Sam Sorbo. Hey, Sam.
Hey, thanks for having me. You got my book there.
Yes, I absolutely love it. I read it in just a few days. It is outstanding. And I just want to say thank you for joining Moms on a Mission. And for those who may not know a lot about you, if you could please tell us just a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Sure. I have three children who are now grown, but at the time, when my oldest went through second grade, I reached sort of a sticking point because I wasn't getting his assignments back, and I found out that he wasn't really performing up to standard. I didn't really like the homework that they sent home with him. I thought there was a lot of busy work that was kind of boring. I didn't like the attitude that he was bringing home from school. I had a number of issues with what was happening in his relationship to the school, my relationship to the school, and just what the school was about. And I took a step back and I said, are they really going to accomplish the education of this child? And I decided that they probably weren't, and they were actually going to be so detrimental that I said to my husband, I think I could fail at homeschooling because I felt entirely incapable. I said, I think I could fail at homeschooling and he would still be better off as a person. And that's a big statement. And so I like to share that with people because I want people to understand homeschooling is not what you think. It's not even close to what you think it is. And so anybody who thinks that they can't do it, you don't know what you're talking about because you've never actually done it and you don't know what it is. So to say, oh, I can't homeschool because I don't know how is actually a ludicrous statement. I mean, I don't blame you. I said the same thing. I was right there with you, but I'm here to tell you it is a statement of the sky is the sky is green. Like it's a ridiculous statement. And so now it's my life's mission to encourage parents to withdraw their children from the system of abuse that we call school. And it is an abusive system. And we see that now more than ever, right? Because now, well, you saw what happened with Sound of Freedom, a movie that makes a claim, a statement against child sex trafficking. And there were so many in the media that came out and disdained the movie as if to say, there's no child pornography, there's no child sex trafficking, that doesn't exist, which really actually means don't tell me that I'm sinning. Right. I mean, like, I don't know how else, like, it's so hard because it's so nefarious. It's so evil. And of course, good really struggles to comprehend the depths of the depravity that exists. But that depravity exists, and it's high time that we recognized it. And so that depravity has a depravity that's associated with that depravity, right? Because it's all one big depravity, right? That has convinced us that school is good. And it doesn't even matter, like it doesn't matter how effective the school is. It doesn't matter what their statistics are, barely, right? What we think our default, our offset is school good. And then there are like little failures and like trivial or maybe not so trivial like problems in the school, but we institutionalize good as this banner that's sort of an umbrella over all schools everywhere, because school good. But the individual failures, well, that's just individual. We compartmentalize them, we diminish them, and we give them a pass because school good.
Yeah.
And so my job is to wake you up and say to you, that's wrong thinking. That's brainwashing that's been instilled in you by your own schooling. And it's wrong. And here's the joy: when you can escape it, when you start to break out of it, the freedom is almost unbearable. It's and the regret that sinks in. So I'll share with you a little story because, and forgive me, I get emotional when I share this. It's a new story for me. It happened to me just the other day. My daughter is 17. She is uniquely gifted in ways that I can't comprehend. I'm a math person. I'm a science person. She's an art person. Her brain works entirely differently than my brain. And it's been quite an education for me homeschooling her. Which is, by the way, that's the point. The point of educating your child is that your child educates you. Make no mistake, while the child is themselves receiving an education. So anyway, she confided in me just a couple months ago that kindergarten, and mind you, she went to the really cute little kindergarten in our little tiny public school, which was such an awesome school. And, you know, it's the school I ended up leaving after my son was there for 2 years, but she still, I put her in kindergarten because I thought, oh, socialization, right? I believed that lie. And I thought, oh, this will be a great way. She'll make some friends and then she'll have some community. This, you know, everybody needs a ton of friends, right? That's another lie. She's an extreme introvert. She needs one friend. Like she can barely stand one friend, you know what I mean? Like, but I was going on my defaults, my settings that had been brainwashed into me, right? And so she was in this little kindergarten. And what can go wrong in kindergarten? They're finger painting, they're learning some letters, they're learning little songs, they do a little play at Thanksgiving. Like what could possibly go wrong? But she said to me about 2 months ago, kindergarten was where she learned that she was stupid.
Oh my.
It happened one day. It happened with one thing. And this is the abuse that I'm talking about. You don't see it. You don't even comprehend it. You can't imagine it until it hits you in the face. When your 17-year-old daughter says to you, that's where I learned I was stupid, because the teacher made me stand in front of the class and read sight words. And I wasn't good at reading sight words, and the class laughed at me. And she said it took her years to sort of therapy herself out of that mindset. Well, you're just stupid. Compared to everybody else, you're a failure and a loser. And it took that one day, and I guarantee you, because I picked her up every day, I was an involved parent, I knew everything that was happening in the classroom. But this is the scenario. The teacher says to me, oh, it was so cute today. Octavia went up in front of the class and she tried to read her sight words. You know, you could work on that a little bit more with her at home, right? Maybe something as innocuous as that. Oh yeah, we can work on that. Sure. It never occurred to me that she was damaged by it. But children are very, very frail. Yes, they're resilient, but they're also very tender and frail. We know this. They're innocent. And that innocence is so easily corrupted. And now we see in the schools so many. It's not a one-off. It's not 2 or 3. It's a national epidemic. I can't remember the statistic, but it was like 600 and some odd arrests of teachers with pornography, child pornography.
Wow.
In the first half of the year. It was like at least an arrest a day, if not more than an arrest a day. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And we so willingly localize the failure, but institutionalize the success. Well, I'm successful now, therefore my schooling got me here. But ask anybody if what they do for a living is what they studied in school.
Yeah, you mentioned that in your book. I find that to be a very profound question because most people are not doing what they studied, in school.
Right.
Most,
Right.
including
Most
myself.
95% of the people you ask will say, not really. Most of what I do, I learned outside of school,
Right.
even if they studied the law. Right. And so they need their degree in jurisprudence. And they use that degree because they needed that degree to be a lawyer. They still will say, but most of what I do, I learned after law school. And so we've been brainwashed to think the education system is the only way to get the job done. And yet we're confronted on a daily basis with people who are very successful at their work, who didn't go to school for it.
Yeah.
And yet we're still on this treadmill. No, got to go to school. College prep and career readiness, college prep and career readiness. And that's the
mantra. I mean, you hear it as a parent, and kids hear it in school, and it happens without any critical thinking occurring. And it's just almost robotic. It's just the next step. And you can see it in public school and Christian schools. It's just not even a thought to pause and say, maybe not for me. And that's what I love about your book. They're your kids because it actually causes critical thinking to occur, and it causes you to pause and think, oh, and so this is my next question. I wanted to ask you and say, the research, first of all, that you've done for this book is incredible. The stats that you have shared are staggering. And you stated that almost a third of the teacher union member dues are spent on propagating the left agenda, whether it be through lobbying, political activities, contribution, gifts, or grants. And my question to you is, why is nobody lobbying for our children?
Yeah, well, that's not their interest. You should form a parents union for the protection of children, and then maybe start lobbying as a parents union. And there are people who are trying to do that, by the way.
Oh, wow.
But the teachers represent themselves. Have you ever heard that your realtor doesn't represent you? Your realtor represents him or herself. Yes, they want you to find a good home, but they just as soon you paid a higher price and they got more commission. They don't really care. They just want the deal, because it's the deal that makes them money. And I'm not throwing realtors under the bus.
I have some good friends who are realtors, and they're not like that, but I know some probably are like that.
Yeah. So it takes a good amount of ethics, but ultimately the realtor works for him or herself because they're working for a paycheck. And so the teachers are working for a paycheck, and we think that teachers just have the kids' best interest at heart, and they might. And to a teacher, it's dependent individually, but the union represents the teachers. The union doesn't represent the children. So why would they argue for anything for the children unless it first benefits the teachers? And then there's the whole thing of I don't know if you're familiar with Rebecca Friedrichs. You might want to talk to her, but she has a whole movement to try to and she and a few others who I know, there's a point at which teachers are starting to understand that the unions don't represent their values. They actually are all about the kids, and the unions are not, and the unions are actually getting in the way of that. And so there's a movement to convince teachers to not join the union. And as teachers, you don't have to join the union. But if you try to stand individually as a teacher and not join the union is going to come down pretty hard on you. So you kind of need to clandestinely, and it's funny that they have to consider this, but they do, because they're dealing with a mafiosa type, communist driven union. So you have to clandestinely meet with other teachers, and you all decide to not join the union on the last day of membership, the membership drive or whatever. And in fact, a lot of teachers say, well, I need the union because I need my insurance, but you can purchase insurance for, I think it's roughly 1/5 the cost of joining the union.
Wow.
Because it
makes sense. So why would you not do that?
Right. So there are people out there who are trying to educate teachers so that they understand you're not compelled to join the union, and that it's been ruled in court. I think it was Friedrichs herself, who brought this all the way to the court. It might have been a different case, that you may benefit from the negotiations that the teachers union makes, regardless of if you pay your union dues. So, but here's the problem. We all went to school. We weren't taught discernment. We weren't taught how to do research, really. We weren't taught these things because the goal of the school is to churn out workers who don't question, unquestioning worker bees. That's the goal of the schools. And it's not the goal of the teachers. I'll make it very clear. I don't go after teachers. I believe that most teachers are caught in a system that is now so perverted and they don't know what to do. But I will tell you, there are probably a number of teachers who have compromised their values for fear of losing their jobs. And that's a very sad thing, because the reason that they're willing to compromise their values at the cost of, or at the cost of their virtue to keep their job is because they've been so instilled with fear, college prep and career readiness, the almighty dollar, that they have to earn a living, and that the only way they can do that is by kowtowing to, the man or whatever. And so they're willing to sacrifice their sacred honor, really, the things that they believe, just to keep the job. And that's very dangerous.
Well, that
in my
concept,
that's a very dangerous thing, because then they become lost people. They become much more easily manipulated.
and that whole concept is pervasive throughout society, whether it's teaching or in our jobs. I mean, the various mandates that we've had, come down
Correct.
the pike. So
Absolutely,
the fear mongering is real. I mean, we've heard people say it, on
the reason that I bring it up, there are a number of people who have stood regardless of what the cost, because they understood that the truth was more important than the job, right? But the reason that I bring it up is because even if you're a teacher who went into the profession believing that you really wanted to make a difference in students' lives, if you're a Christian, for instance, and you're going to go into a secular school system, which, by the way, is the worship of government. Make no mistake, you're working in a religious environment. It's just not Christian. And you are supporting that religiosity that is anti-Christian by being in that environment. And I'm sad to say that, but it's just the truth. And you can the Christian teachers who work in the secular schools can make all the excuses, and God bless them. I know that we need Christian teachers in the secular schools. However, but I believe also that by being in the secular schools, what they're doing is they're making a statement that they're willing to compromise their values. And that's dangerous. So I interviewed a young girl who, 10th grader, was given a pornographic poem to study. She brought it to her dad. They raised a ruckus. They brought it back to the school. They told the school board they needed an apology. They wanted the poem removed. They got the sorry, I'm not really sorry kind of letter from the professor. The professor stayed on. The poem was not removed, and she went back to school. And I said to her, "Why did you go back to school?" And her father jumped in and said, "Well, we're actually very proud of her. She made that decision." And I'm like, she's 16. Now, she said that she had felt violated by her exposure to that pornographic, homosexual, violent poem. Her words, she felt violated. And okay, my first response is, what kind of dad permits his child to re-enter a situation in which she's been violated with the same professor, right? She went back to class. But he was so proud of her because she was, quote, ministering to a little atheist girl who sat next to her. And I said, well, maybe, if this might not have occurred to you, but her going back to class is sending a distinct message to that little atheist girl that Christians will roll over at the first sign of trouble. They'll just lay down and die on their own swords, basically. Like, just sort of capitulate, because they don't actually believe in the things that they say they believe. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think we have to be very careful. I think you need to make some what I call binary choices. So in school, we are taught to make pros and cons lists in order to make a decision, right? It's ridiculous. All that does is invite chaos. Have you ever made a pros and cons list and you're sitting there going, okay, well, that's all the good stuff, and that's all and now I still don't know what to do? what you do is you're supposed to make a priorities list, but they don't teach priorities in school. See, all of this very important, these very important topics that I'm talking about are completely disregarded by our school system. And that's why children don't belong in school, because they're not getting the important stuff anyway.
Well,
But they're getting all the damaging stuff,
yeah,
right?
and they're not taught how to critically think. They're taught what to think,
Right.
not how to think. And so
Right.
they get out and they can't critically think.
Right. Exactly. And so they don't know how to make these choices. But one way to make the choices is you set your priorities. So what's your number one priority? For instance, you said you have a child in he's going into junior year, right, of high school.
Yes.
What's your priority for him? What's your goal for him for his life? What's your number one priority for him right now?
Well, for him to know God and to hear his voice and to find out what his call is and then follow that call to the best of his ability.
And so then the question is the school that he is attending the best suited to give him that guidance? Because what you're looking for is guidance for him. Is the school going to offer him the very best guidance?
Yeah, that's the question.
Right. And so if your answer is maybe not, then the school is not the choice, period. End of state. It's not even a consideration because it's not the number one priority. It doesn't serve the number one priority. And then the question is, well, who will serve as that guide? The answer probably is you, your husband, maybe some other adults who you know, right? But certainly not other children his age, and probably not teachers who were stuck in this system of really what I consider to be abuse. Maybe one or two of the teachers, but certainly not all of them, and not for 8 hours a day, likely, right?
Yeah.
And so then you have to make the choice. Okay, so if he's not going to go to school, what is he going to do? Well, what are his interests? Maybe the best idea is to lean into the interests, lean into the things that interest him the most, because and by the way, yes, it's late for a young man who is already halfway through high school. It's late to start to rethink, but it's not as late as I did it. So it can be done. The idea is school, because it compartmentalizes and systematizes education, it makes education boring and ugly. But education itself is intriguing and beautiful.
And you shared some of the stories in the book, which I thought were so great, about your kids actually being excited to learn. And you had gotten back from a vacation and you gave them a day off and you're going to go Tuesday through Saturday. And even Tuesday, when you got up, you're like, oh, we're tired. Maybe, we'll go slow today. And your son was up, I think you said really early in the morning, 6:30 or whatever, and wanted to get started. And I just thought that is the fruit of the wonderful decision you made to homeschool, because you can see it in your kids and their desire to learn, because it's not boring anymore. It's exciting.
Right. And it's not tedious, right? Going and sitting behind a desk, especially for young boys, is tedious. It is not a system that is designed for the boy. It's designed for little girls who like to sit quietly and play with their dolls. Forgive me for being so sexist, but it's not for little boys who like to go out and chase lizards. So it really is abusive, it's particularly to boys, and then also other facets are abusive, because what school really does is teach us to hate learning. That's why nobody wants to homeschool, because we hated school. And the only thing that we liked about school was the good stuff. But that's not even school. The friends, people say to me, what about socialization? And I'm like, you're not allowed to socialize in school. Don't you know you're not supposed to talk to your neighbor? What are you thinking? Don't be ridiculous. Like, the whole socialization thing is, I mean, it's like a nasty rumor that somebody started that I'm trying to put to bed, because it's not even close to it's absurd is what it is. It's an absurdity to think that socialization, one, could replace the argument for education, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because it's the secondary argument to, well, they're not getting an education. Okay, I'll grant you they're not getting an education, but what about socialization? Who gives a crap? We're talking about education, but okay, you want to talk about socialization. First of all, understand you just changed the subject, right? But secondly, what makes you think they're being socialized in school? Okay, full disclosure, I was a pariah in school. I had my nerd friends. I had a very close group of like 6 nerd friends, and that was it. I didn't know anybody else in school, and nobody wanted to know me. Like, you know, I don't know how that is a good example, but I'm just saying it's not like, boom, you're a socialite because you're stewed in a vat with children the same age. You're not going to learn anything from children the same age. That's the problem. We ought to, and by the way, this is the biggest abuse that the schools have done. They have stolen the family. And so we no longer respect our elders. We are taught to respect experts, which is what got us into the whole COVID mess, I'll point out. So instead of respecting our elders and learning from them, we've lost generational knowledge. How to bake a pie, how to make a poultice, how home remedies, all of these generational things. By the way, that has really helped the pharma, right? Because we have no knowledge. Just give us a pill, give us a shot. We'll, line up
with a shot with no package insert inside of it.
No package insert.
Yeah.
Right. We're not even doing just the minimal amount. I mean, look, it's so off the rails at this point, and that's why my whole mission is to save the kids that I can. So parents, do not put your children in a school. Full stop. It's an institution of abuse. Again, I'm not going after teachers. I don't think all teachers are abusive to kids. I think the system itself is abusive.
It's broken.
And it's not broken.
Oh, you don't think
no. It is absolutely not broken. It is functioning exactly as it was designed.
Yeah.
And that's why I can say it is that bad. If it was broken, then we could sit here perhaps and have some conversation about how to fix it. It is not broken. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do. And so when you see what's happening in our schools today, and the transgender and the social emotional learning and the manipulation of children and the lying to children and all of that, understand that is the direct result of everything that came before. So don't think that by setting the clock back 20 years or 30 years or 40 years when you went to school, whatever, and it was okay, it wasn't okay back then, because that's what gave us today. What you need to do is divorce yourself from the school, from the whole system, and start questioning everything that you learned in school, which is a monumental task. And so you talk about, in my book, I talk about how my kids really enjoyed English grammar.
Wow.
Who loves English grammar, right? And they loved it because it was presented to them. It was presented in a fun manner. It wasn't made tedious. If it got too heavy for them and they were struggling too much, I took it away. I said, go outside and play, because there's no reason to force a child to learn, because they don't. That's not how you learn. We have a fundamental misunderstanding about how learning happens because of our schooling. And and by the way, when you start on this journey, and you start to recognize the learning that happens organically in your children, and it's miraculous. It's like mind-blowing. And you go, oh my gosh, I've been totally missing the boat. And I will tell you, it did take me, I would say, a decade to figure it out, even still, even when I was faced with it. So you're reading the book from my point of view back then. And even since then, I've learned so much. So I schooled my first 2 children fully at home, right? My third child, well, with my second one, I started to let up a little bit. With my third child, I started to finally realize I don't have to dot every I. I don't have to cross every T. I need to make sure that she becomes a fantastic adult. And that's defined a lot of different ways, not just academically, which is the way that the school defines it.
But it's not the way the world works. The world doesn't work that way.
That's right. And so that's really the best message that I can leave you with is the schools aren't after the best life for your child. The schools are after a worker bee who follows directions and trusts the experts. And we've seen this play out just now. And the only way to avoid what we just went through, the 3 years we just went through, is for you to grow a pair, be brave, take your child out of school. It's that simple. And your child will show you the way.
That's good. We have just a few minutes left real quick. I would just like you to educate us. So for people who are thinking, where do I even begin? Because you've done this for so long, it's like second nature. But for somebody who is just thinking about this, where would someone even begin? I know in your book, you talked about some curriculum, classical conversations. You said it, can show up on your doorstep. It's all in a box. It can be that simple. But I know you wrote this book a little bit ago. So what would you recommend for someone who is thinking about it now?
Yeah. And in fact, I kind of buried the lead because I do want to talk briefly about the movie Miracle in East Texas.
Oh, good. Okay.
Which comes out this October 29th. It is a tall tale based on an entirely true story. And it's a comedy for families. But before we talk about that, I'll just tell you, yes, if you get there, your kids, it will start you on this journey. It will embolden you. It should empower you a little bit. Go to my website. I have a ton of resources. I know that the first question on everybody's lips is, well, what about curricula? And curricula is not the answer. Education is not data entry. Quote me on that. Education is not data entry. Okay. And then you have to start. So what I did was I developed a resource for parents called the Playbook for Home Learning. It's a series of 15 videos. They live online. You buy the playbook or you buy the series of videos. It's basically a subscription on Locals. And you get all of those videos, plus you get the initial conference that I did, for which I developed the resource, which is a workbook. So there's an interactive online workbook, or you can order a hard copy. And you go through the videos, and it will retrain you to empower you to start the journey with your children. And that's the best resource that I know of to in essence break you free from the brainwashing that you underwent. And that's the goal there. But the movie, here's the exciting thing. So the movie comes out October 29th. It's a Fathom release, so it's nationwide, but it's a limited engagement. So you really should go get your tickets right now. And if you go to sorbostudios.com, you can find everything that I just talked about. Everything is over there, sorbostudios.com. I developed a homeschool resource to go with the movie for free.
Oh, wow.
It's a free downloadable. It's very simple, takes maybe an hour of fun with your kid, having the discussion, learning some stuff yourself, having them learn, seeing the light go on in their eyes. And I'm very excited about it because it's a very simple resource. And so the idea with that is you can download it for free. You can try it out. Like, this is what homeschooling can look like. You can go see a movie that is based on actual facts, but it's a comedy, and then do a little bit of online research. You don't even have to do that because I've done it for you. I created the curriculum. I created this curricula, right? You can go through this little curricula with your kid, and you both are more educated. It's that simple. That's how education works. It's not more complicated than that. So I really want to encourage people, get your tickets, get the download. Don't look at the download before you watch the movie because it has spoilers in it, obviously, right? And the movie also one of the themes of the movie is forgiveness.
Oh, that's good.
And so one of the themes in the curriculum is forgiveness, because forgiveness is a really important concept that they are not talking about in schools. And why do I say that? Because we live in cancel culture time. And cancel culture is the opposite of the Christian culture of forgiveness. And so when you get to have that conversation with your child, that's education. Because that's the meat. That's the good stuff. The stuff that they cover in school tends to be like bread, rice, potatoes, but it's not the meat of education. So sorbostudios.com. The playbook is on sorbostudios.com. If you click on the Sam Sorbo link, you'll find all of my homeschool stuff. You can join the locals community, and I'm constantly posting there. In fact, I'm in Paris right now with my daughter for a month. She's an artist, and so we're doing all the museums, and this is homeschooling on steroids, I call it.
Yes.
And so this is what school can look like. I'm just saying. And by the way, it's 95 degrees out. There's no air conditioning in Paris.
I saw the fan on and I thought, I bet it is so hot in that room that she has her fan.
I can't tell you how it is super warm. But that's because they don't have air conditioning in Paris or France, really, very little. And they don't live with air conditioning. And the reason is this is a continent of renters. We Americans are a continent of owners. Not for much longer.
They're trying to change
that's what gave us, in part, the prosperity that we have been able to share with the world, which is what really has made us the greatest nation that the world has ever seen, is our Christian principles, which we are now, unfortunately, forfeiting for the convenience of keeping a job. So I know that maybe that was a bit of a too high 30,000 foot view, but yeah, I'm homeschooling in Europe right now, and it
doesn't get any better than that. Come on.
It really does. It's 95 degrees, but it still doesn't get any better than this. I'm not complaining.
Yes.
In other words.
Yes. Oh, well, thank you, Sam, so much. I mean, your wisdom, your research, your experience is just unparalleled. I mean, we are so grateful to learn from you. And I know that you wrote this book a while back, but I just thought it would be a great starting point for me. And other moms, just to get their feet wet. And we didn't really go into much detail, but the first part of the book where you're laying out the public school, the government school curricula, and what has transpired, the statistics, the failing statistics.
And that was before all of the stuff that came out during COVID. That's what's crazy. Like that was all already before this new stuff with the transgender and the woke agenda and all of that, the BLM in the classroom, and the fact that they're moving everything online. So parents aren't allowed to see what their children are being taught, or what the testing is, or what questions the children are being asked.
Exactly.
Like it's really, you cannot put your children in school. You may not. It's an abdication of your responsibility as a parent to surrender your children to strangers. And it's not biblical. I mean, come on, folks. Look, the lessons that we learn in school are: don't ask, don't try, don't think, and don't read. Those are the 4 lessons. And that's why we don't read our Bibles. And so many of us aren't really reading the Bible because we think, well, Pastor read the Bible. He'll tell me what's in the Bible. But I'll tell you something. Pastor went to school too. He doesn't read the Bible. Yeah, maybe he went to seminary. Who knows? Who knows what he learned? You know what I mean? So now we're stuck. We don't read our Bibles. If we read our Bibles, we would very soon see there's nowhere in the Bible that says, make sure your kids go to a good Christian school.
Yeah. What it does say,
make sure you're good. Go to any school. There's no mention of school in the Bible.
No. Well, the Bible says in Proverbs 22:6, to train up a child in the way he should go. When he's old, he will not depart from it. And so we're supposed to be teaching life and teaching things as we walk through, life. And so I just want to say thank you. I don't think people really think about this. And I love that you are pushing back and exposing truth and really encouraging parents with the truth that they can do this, that this is not something that's outside of their wheelhouse, even though it's
God's design.
Yes. And God is going to empower us to do what he made us to do. And that is to train up our children. So thank you so much for joining us today on Moms on Mission. Thanks for speaking the truth and encouraging us. I just can't say how grateful I am to learn from you. It's just incredible information. And the fact that you're in Paris is super cool. And I really love that too. So have so much fun. And I want to say to our listeners, thank you so much for listening. As always, you can go to momsonamission.net and fill out the email portion of that and connect with us that way, or you can email us at moms@momsonamission.net. Also for Sam, go to sorbostudios.com, get your ticket, download the homeschooling information, or also you can get this book there, Your Kids, An Inspirational Journey from Self-Doubter to Homeschool Advocate. You can also find Sam at samsorbo.com. And thank you so much for listening, and God bless. In light of recent bank volatility and skyrocketing inflation, diversification is a must. That's why I use my good friend Andrew Sorcini at Beverly Hills Precious Metals. Beverly Hills Precious Metals makes it so easy to diversify. I personally ordered some silver and it arrived on my doorstep just a few days later. They make it so easy. And if you're not ready to do that and you just want to ask a few questions, they're there for you too. I personally got some silver and also am rolling over some of my IRA. You can actually roll over your IRA and have it be backed by silver and gold. So if you don't have any extra money to invest in silver and gold, rolling over a 401k or an IRA, or even part of it, if you just want to try it at first, just for a little bit, you can do that as well. So go to bh-pm.com today and ask all your questions. You can connect with somebody. And like I said, you can just get some information at first if you want and pray about it, and then get back with them to roll over part of your IRA or all of it, or order some gold and silver. That's bh-pm.com, and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you. Hey, everybody. Did you know that recent research from the CDC says that millions of Americans develop parasitic infections and symptoms often go unnoticed or are misdiagnosed? Parasites are actually the cause of many health problems such as anxiety, depression, chronic pain, fatigue, and unexplained digestive issues. We all need a common sense strategy to improve our health. Moms on a Mission encourages you to reach out to our good friend, Dr. Jason Dean. Dr. Dean's Full Moon Protocol provides all natural detoxification and fights inflammation. And the supplements are made with 100% organic ingredients and are proven to kill parasites safely and effectively. I know after I took Full Moon Protocol, I had more energy. To order your Full Moon Protocol today, go to bravetv.store/mission to save $20 off your first order. That's bravetv.store/mission. According to leading sleep experts and sleephealth.org, over 50 million Americans struggle getting a good night's rest. That's why Moms on a Mission loves MyPillow. MyPillow makes amazing pillows, sheets, mattress toppers, robes, towels, literally almost everything you need for a good night's sleep. They also make dog beds for your dogs. So by going to mypillow.com, typing in the code MISSION, you not only receive a high quality product, but you're supporting Moms on a Mission and this podcast. If you like what you're hearing and you agree with it, you believe in it, and you want to support Moms on a Mission, then go to mypillow.com today and order some high quality products, and just type in the code MISSION at checkout and you can save up to 66% off. That's mypillow.com, code MISSION.
Since 2014, Organic Body Essentials has offered clean, simple, certified organic skincare. Our organic face-to-feet and federally compliant hemp and pet products are manufactured under USDA and FDA guidelines. Our products are inspired by God using plants He created. In Ezekiel 47:12, it says, "The fruit is for food and the leaves for healing." We believe in the power of God to heal, so we pray over our products and for our customers. Our therapy in a bottle approach has been widely received, and our customers' testimonials continue to inspire us. You can find us at organicbodyessentials.com and obe.organicbodyessentials.com. Please feel welcome to reach out with questions. Use coupon code MISSION at checkout for a discount. Thank you for your support by using MISSION at checkout to benefit Moms on a Mission and their quest to reestablish traditional values in our education system and empowerment for a healthy lifestyle.